Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday afternoon, April 5th. Well, in some respects, the weather pattern that's shaping up for next week looks more winter-like than anything we experienced during the entire winter. One of the indexes that meteorologists like to look at during the wintertime is called the North Atlantic Oscillation, or NAO. And in general, when the NAO is negative, there's liable to be some cold air moving into the mid-Atlantic or northeastern part of the country. And when the NAO is negative for a sustained period of time, that cold air can be sustained in the mid-Atlantic or northeastern part of the U.S. Well, sure enough, the NAO right now is on the negative side. Here's the latest NAO reading right here, and the red indicates the forecast over the next couple of days. So it is actually forecast to drop down even lower to this point right about here, which is -1 or even a little bit lower. And notice, if you go all the way back to the beginning part of December, that would be the lowest reading we have had all winter long in terms of the NAO. And again, when it's negative, there's liable to be some cold air that's kind of shoved down into the northeastern part of the country with a blocking pattern setting up well to our north over Greenland. That allows for the cold air to not only come into the northeastern part of the country, but also to stick around for a few days. And there are some interesting possibilities for next week based on the latest run of the European model, which we'll now take a look at. Well, let's walk through a couple of European model runs here. This is actually from last night's 0Z run. All of these European model graphical displays are from Dr. Ryan Mowry's website. And this is for Sunday night, and what we're looking at here are the temperature anomalies at 850 millibars, which is the very lowest part of the atmosphere, not far from the surface. And the reds here and oranges represent above normal temperatures, and the blues and greens colder than normal temperatures. So watch what happens. This is Sunday night, Eastern night, on over the U.S. in terms of the European forecast for the temperature anomalies. Now, if we go 24 hours later to Monday night, notice this colder air mass moves in from the south central part of Canada into the upper Midwest, and then by the time Tuesday night rolls around, there's quite a trough developing, according to the European model, in the eastern U.S., and quite a cold air mass up and down the East Coast now and all the way out through the Midwest. Go 24 hours later, and sure enough, cold air still situated up and down the East Coast, all the way from southeastern Canada down to Florida. And finally, 24 hours later, it remains cold here in the Mid-Atlantic region. So according to the European model, we have colder weather moving in around the early part of next week, and it will last for several days. Well, now let's take a look and walk through the European surface analysis for next week. This is actually Saturday night, and again, these graphical displays are off of Ryan Mowry's website. And here's a low-pressure area. This is the same low-pressure area that cut through the southern part of the country and will continue to move basically west to east and move off the coast. This is by Saturday night. Now let's go 24 hours later. And here you see the storm kind of starting to loop back around up towards Nova Scotia, another 24 hours. And there it is, right over the northern tip of Maine. And so what's happening is this particular low is looping back around from well off the coast towards Maine and Nova Scotia. And that is all indicative of a Greenland block, some kind of a blocking pattern setting up with a negative NAO here well to the north, forcing that storm to cut back towards the coast. And from this position, it'll usher in that colder air mass into the mid-Atlantic and northeastern part of the country along around Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Another 24 hours later, and here colder air is starting to move in. Nothing in terms of a low pressure area, but you go to the middle part and latter part of next week, and here the European model has another low pressure area right along the east coast that goes up into the eastern part of New England, and then another 24 hours later, another low pressure area develops off the coast, and we'll have to watch that one as well. So the bottom line is, definitely looks like a colder pattern setting up for next week, and the European model is really putting an emphasis on a deep trough developing in the eastern part of the country. Of course, it's very hard to get snow any time of the year, really, in the big cities, but especially in April. We'll have to monitor that situation, but typically in April you have higher elevation events. The mountains of, let's say, central and western Pennsylvania up all the way into the higher elevations of New England do have a decent shot at some snow, and that could happen later on next week. So we'll obviously monitor this situation over the next several days here at the SIweather.com. That's it for now. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.